Political threat. Is the Republicans at risk of becoming the party of the rich while President Obama and the Democrats stake the claim as the party of the middle class? This is a GOP risk. Let's talk. We have CNBC contributor Howard Dean, former Vermont governor and Democratic presidential candidate. And we welcome back Katie Pavlich, author and news editor for townhall.com. But one moment before you two go at it, listen to this poll from the latest CNBC All-American Survey. Okay, listen to this. Americans are split over who is more to blame. 21% blame Obama and the Democrats. 23% blame the GOP. And 52% blame both sides equally. Now, I think that 52% is because Howard Dean wants to tax everyone. Howard wants to tax everyone. Howard, defend your position. You may be single-handedly bailing out the Republican Party by wanting to tax the middle class and everybody else.
I'm just telling the truth, Larry. I mean, I think Senator Paul's a fine person, but his economic theory is whack job stuff. I mean, the idea, we've already had big tax cuts. That's why we have the deficit we have. That's what George Bush's legacy is in terms of fiscal management. So the truth is, if you want to balance the budget, which I do, you're going to have increased revenues, and you're going to have significant spending cuts. And you have said many times on this program that raising taxes on rich people is not enough to deal with the deficit. You are right. The truth is, the best thing we could do is go right over the fiscal cliff. We'd get the same tax rates we had when Bill Clinton was president. We'd get significant cuts. We'd get significant cuts in defense, and we'd also get significant human services cuts.
Katie, let me just ask you, before you respond to what Governor Dean is saying, okay, and there is logic to what Howard Dean is saying. I don't happen to agree with it, but I know where he's coming from. Katie, let me ask you this. Oh, Katie can't hear me. All right, so we'll wait for her to get back hooked in. Howard, what about the notion that I'm posing tonight, and I've said this a few times, Republicans better be careful. They're not going down your road, and the Democrats aren't going down your road. You've got middle-class tax cuts for the Democrats, and it sometimes sounds to me, as an old Reagan conservative, that the Republicans better watch themselves, because sometimes it sounds like they are kind of defending rich people. That's their whole mantra, just defending rich people. And I think that's not where they should be.
I would agree. If I were politically advising the Republicans, which I'm certainly not, I think Tom Coles was right from Oklahoma. I think they ought to get out of the way. In fact, unfortunately, there wouldn't be as much deficit reduction, which is what I care about. But if they were smart politically, they would get out of the way and they would just let the top 2% pay what they paid when Bill Clinton was president. The problem is it's not going to do a lot to solve the deficit. And right. I think the problem here is not politics. The problem is the deficit. So I know I've gotten a lot of hate mail from both the right and the left.
No, you're being honest. I think
I'm saying on Twitter.
You're being honest.
The fact of the matter is we got to balance the budget, and we've been in an economic recovery for 3 years. We're not where we ought to be. The longer you put this big deficit on, the harder it's going to be later on.
By the way, Alan Greenspan agrees with you, but Katie, I'm sorry we lost you there for a minute.
That's okay.
I'm worried, Katie, because the GOP, first of all, is in an unenviable political position after the election, because they're not talking about enough spending and entitlement cuts. What you kind of hear, Katie, is defending tax cuts for the rich. In other words, the GOP is becoming the party of rich people, and that's not where they ought to be.
Well, the problem is marketing, and Republicans have had a big problem with marketing since the Ronald Reagan days, and so they need to really get on the ground and talk about how these tax cuts affecting the rich will affect the middle class. Democrats have been getting away with saying that the rich are the ones who need to pay more, when really they never mention the fact that the rich people are the ones employing the middle class, and therefore they'll be affected whether the rich get a tax cut or not.
That's a key point. And do you think the Republicans are emphasizing growth enough? Just the way you said it. There's a lot of supply side stuff. We need incentives, after-tax incentives. We need better rewards. But what you said, well-to-do people are the ones who start the factories, who build the homes that employ the people. I think that's great logic. Is that growth message been employed itself enough? Because sometimes it sounds to me like Obama's for the middle class, and again, the GOP is just there for rich people.
Right. Well, Obama is for the middle class, and President Obama is for keeping people in the middle class. And the Republicans would do themselves a service to show how the Republicans and their plan, specifically on the fiscal cliff, will allow people to move from the middle class into the upper class, and allow even more people after that to move out of middle class and into the upper class. And so growth would be a great thing both on a personal level and an economic level as well.
Just last one. Senator Rand Paul is not going to filibuster in the Senate. He's going to let the thing go through. He's going to vote against it. Do you think Republicans in the House, Katie, should just vote present and let the Democratic bill go through?
I'm all for the Republicans voting present. You know, Mr. Dean just last night said that having us go over the fiscal cliff actually wouldn't be the worst of ideas. And so if that's how we're going to go, then, and President Obama has said that he's not going to sign anything without the tax increase, and fine, let them own it. Have Republicans take a step back and give President Obama what he wants.
All right, I've got to get out. I've got to get out. Thanks to both of you, Howard Dean, we appreciate it. And Katie Pavlich, we appreciate it very much.